Man, thank God it's finally fucking over. The Rick and Morty anime is finally fucking over, and man, thank God. I don't think it's ever gonna get a second season. It's because they really butchered the beginning of this anime. The ending of the anime and the last ending episodes of the anime are actually pretty fucking good because it actually focuses on the story that it was trying to convey. And the story that they tried to convey is actually not fucking bad. I actually liked it, and I actually really liked the ending. What the Rick and Morty anime really fails to do is get the audience hooked to the show. I mean, there's not a lot of people that stuck around after the first 5 episodes because the first 5 episodes were such a jumbled fucking mess. Like, it was such an incoherent mess of scenes going back and forth randomly that it was unfucking watchable. It really was. And they literally do basically nothing for the rest of the anime. The anime could have done completely without the first 5 episodes. It also hugely fails at the unique art style that it tried to present. It just looks fucking awful. It looks like crap. Almost everybody is talking about how awful the new Rick and Morty anime looks. And the biggest gripe for me is the objects, the weapons. And I did this in my previous video. The objects, the vehicles, everything else besides the characters look more higher quality or higher budget than the actual character. I don't understand what the design direction was for Takashi Sano because he's the director and creator of the anime. It just didn't make sense. It didn't look good, and most people would agree it just didn't look good. And to make everything else look more appealing or at least higher budget quality whatnot just seems a little middle finger in the face because it shows you how good the anime could have looked. But enough about that. Let's get right into the breakdown of the full 10 episodes of the first season of Rick and Morty, the anime. The first 5 episodes explores Morty wearing this VR set. He's given this VR set by Rick, and it is supposed to be like Roy, the whole thing where they went Blitz and Chips, where he put on the helmet and he's living different lives, but completely different and a little bit shittier because the first 5 episodes explores Rick, Morty, and this new character L, which we learn about later is a time warrior or whatnot like. And she lives the present, past, and future all at the same time. It's a jumbled mess. But either way, the first 5 episodes literally mean nothing and do nothing for the show because what it does is it goes from future, past, present scenes jumbling out of fucking nowhere. And it really doesn't explain why, except for that the anime, once you get to the 6th episode, explains that we're in a what is it? There's time distortions going on because of L and a device that Rick has, but we'll learn about that later. The first 4 episodes explores that, and the 5th episode explores a Jerry episode that is completely separate, but also jumbles back and forth between random scenes. But basically the whole episode is just set to show where we get Jerry's suit and his powers and shit, because he gets this suit that can do cool shit. And that's only explained in episode 5. Once we get into episode 6, we start to learn stuff about the actual fucking story, about the stuff that's actually going down in the Rick and Morty anime. Throughout the first 5 episodes, we learn that Rick and Morty are both experiencing space distortions, going back and forth from scenes and random places in time and different dimensions. We also learned that there is a Rick that is jumping back and forth from different Ricks, different minds and whatnot through different dimensions because of all these space distortions. In episode 6, we learned that L and the device are responsible for those spatial distortions. Episodes 7 and 8 elaborate more, telling us that, in fact, L and the device are the reason for the spatial distortions, and that the one Rick that we have encountered throughout the anime that is jumping from different dimensions, that is caused by the device and L. Episode 9, we actually find out that the reason why all of this is happening is because it's a Mirai Nikki situation, Future Diary. If any of you guys have seen that anime, you guys will know where I'm leading into. So, basically, Elle ends up meeting Morty in the original reality in that VR because it was a dimension, I guess, that merged with the VR headset, whatnot. He ended up meeting the real Elle. After that, the original Morty ends up dying, according to Elle. And she ended up, meeting her universe's Rick and made him turn her into the device that we see in the anime. She gets turned into that device. So Elle and the device are the same thing. And it causes the space distortions. Once the device is created, the space distortions start happening where all the different dimensions merge together and just a bunch of jumbling shit happens. Which explains the first 5 episodes, which is very shitty. I don't think they should have started the anime that way. They definitely shouldn't have made that the intro because a lot of people signed off. A lot of people got uninterested because the first 5 episodes are a jumbled mess and very fucking confusing. The first 5 episodes only start becoming less confusing once you actually get into the last 5 episodes of the show. There's 10 episodes in this anime, and half of the show is literally nonsense. It's crazy. Either way, a bunch of dimensions end up merging together, and because of the spatial distortion, it ends up jumbling everything. So past, future, present scenes all merge together. And according to the anime, at least it's what it emphasizes, everything is on a chronological timeline. So everything we saw was on a correct timeline, even all the confusing bits. That was all happening chronologically. We also learn in episode 9 that Morty is the only one that can stop the space distortions and time slips, because Elle wants him to make the decision. And we end up learning that Morty is given 2 options to stop the space distortions and everything that's going on. And 1, he can be with Elle, and 2, he can't be with Elle. The option where he can be with Elle is he will have to sacrifice an entire universe and its inhabitants, and him and Elle will be able to be together. Because the device and Elle are the same being, it's like antimatter, it's explained in the show. They can't coexist together, and it's causing the space distortions. They would have to leave it in another universe, and it acts as a bomb, and it would destroy that universe. But Elle and Morty would be still together. But the other option is letting Elle and the device be destroyed at the same time, causing her to disappear, same with the device. But the space distortions and time slips would end. Episode 10, we end up learning Morty's decision that he can't do it. He can't let an entire universe die just for Elle. So he decides not to do it, and he ends up, running away and not really making the decision. A whole battle with the Galactic Federation ends up happening. It's very minor, it's super lame. None of the battle sequences in this anime are exciting. It's just very mediocre. But we have this battle with the Galactic Federation because they want the device that Rick has that's causing the spatial distortions, and they call it a bomb, so apparently it's a bomb. But either way, they want the device, and they end up having a whole little battle. They're losing, so one of the Federation captain ends up juicing up, gets all fucking beefed up, and he comes down, fucking starts beating fucking ass, and ends up stealing the device from I think it's Rick? Yeah, it was Rick. So, because he ends up taking Morty hostage and threatening to kill Morty, so Rick ends up giving him the device after Elle says, "I know what's gonna happen next, trust me." So, he ends up handing over the device to the Federation captain that's all fucking juiced up on HGH now. And fucking homie, out of nowhere, fucking becomes Iron Man, has blasters off his feet, fucking has the device in his hand, and fucking blasts off like fucking Iron Man. It's never explained how, because he's just juiced up, he's still organic. It's not like he turned into a robot out of nowhere. But the insect dude, the Armada guy, just all of a sudden is fucking blasting off. And Elle ends up grabbing a ship, taking it, and ends up fucking crashing it into the fucking bug guy. He gets, like, pushed by the momentum, so he can't really fucking move. So she ends up crawling up, grabbing the device, and ends up activating it, causing it to explode, destroying her and the device. After this incident, Morty ends up being absolutely distraught. He ends up using the VR headset he got from Rick as a coping device. He ends up meeting with a virtual Elle in the virtual reality and ends up having an entire fucking life with her. Just like Roy. He ends up spending 30, 40 years in the VR headset. And of course in the real time it's only maybe 30 minutes, maybe a couple hours. But either way, he spends an entire lifetime in that, VR headset, having a kid with Elle and whatnot, living an entire fucking life, coping with her death, and trying to fill that void, just coping. Rick and Summer end up discovering Morty, and end up telling us, at least Rick ends up telling us, the audience, that, or Summer, either way, tells us that Morty is actually living in another Morty's life, not VR. So this is all real, in a different dimension. He's actually living this real life. In this other life that Morty ended up living, he ended up marrying Elle, had a kid with her, literally lived a really wholesome life. I mean, there was ups and downs throughout the entire, sequence, right? But it was really incredible. I mean, he ends up becoming a deadbeat dad because, a bunch of stuff ends up happening with his daughter wanting to become a violinist, and he just ends up not really supporting her dream for some fucking reason. It's just a little confusing on that point. But either way, he ends up, really finally reconnecting with his family. They get a house together after so long. And then Rick and Summer end up pulling the VR headset off of his head. When this happens, we see the Morty he was living the life of die. He ends up dying right there in front of his wife and child and his best friend. And it ends up being actually pretty fucking sad. Cuts back to Rick and Summer taking off the helmet and just saying, "Hey Morty, let's go on an adventure." Cuts off from there and goes into the ending scene where it's the family that just lost Morty at his gravesite, celebrating his life, and it gives us a gorgeous one-liner and sends us off. The ending of the show. I personally really liked the ending. I thought it was very gorgeous of an ending, and the last few episodes where it explained the actual story was really good. The actual story, when you get into the thick and weeds of it, get past the first 5 episodes, is really fucking good, and I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was very satisfying, and the ending was very satisfying. In Rick and Morty fashion, we do end up getting a end credit scene, and the end credit scene was a really nice ending to it as well. It ends up exploring the whole origin of Space Morty and Space Elle first meeting for the first time, which, when you see it in the first 5 episodes where you see Elle as an alien, you're all like, how the fuck does that happen? It's never explained or elaborated how she turns into an alien. Apparently, that's a completely different storyline that they emphasize they're gonna, explore in season 2. I don't know if there's gonna ever be a season 2. But honestly, it was a really good ending to the series, and the last episodes were really fucking good. That's gonna have to do it for my breakdown on the Rick and Morty anime, my thoughts and everything on it. It was not bad. The ending few episodes were really good, and the ending of the anime was really good, and I enjoyed it. The first 5 episodes are garbage and literally do nothing for the story and or for the anime. And it ruined it. It really did. Most people tapped out after the first 3 episodes. Like, it was insane. Watch Moist Critical's review on it. Watch any top content creator's review on it. It flopped really bad. But either way, stay lifted.